Good afternoon. Welcome to the GSA SCRIPTS BPA Opportunity Webinar held by GDI Consulting. My name is Cal, and I am your Artificial Intelligence host today. With me is Ab Vand, VP for Capture at GDI Consulting and a subject matter expert on these opportunities. Ab has over 30 years of experience in capture and proposal management. He is considered an expert in self-scoring as well as traditional proposal and capture efforts. Ab has managed over 1,000 successful capture and proposal efforts and is a regular contributor to Washington Technology and other online GovCon magazines. He has also held numerous training webinars for various APMP chapters and Apex, previously PTAC, offices throughout the U.S. Before starting, there are a few housekeeping notes I would like to mention. First, this webinar is being recorded and the link to the recording will be sent to you within 24 hours. Second, we will hold a Q&A session at the end. You can send your questions during the webinar by the chat system to the right of your window and Ab will address them at the end. Third, you can download this presentation by clicking on the link under File on the right-hand side panel on your window. We highly recommend you download the slide deck so that you can always refer back to it. So let's see what this webinar covers. We will first have a quick glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Then, a short discussion of the general details of the GSA SCRIPTS BPA opportunity, as well as its scope of work. Next will come a discussion of the proposal structure and volumes and what the requirements are. Then Ab will discuss the source selection process. We will also touch on the subject of partnering as it is an important issue in the SCRIPTS BPA opportunity. Finally, before going into the Q&A, Ab will provide his recommendations towards preparing a winning proposal. If I want to summarize the message that we want to convey in this webinar, it is that you should not underestimate the importance of the 4 non-price factors, as Ab will explain, nor the importance of partnering towards preparing a winning proposal. So, with that, I will now hand over the control to Ab to first give a short glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Ab, you can take over now.
Hello everyone, and thank you, Cal. As Cal mentioned, we highly recommend that you download the presentation slides because I might have to go quickly over some points, but everything is written mostly on the presentation slides, including our contact information in case you want to contact us. So having said that, and I apologize ahead of time from those who have participated in our webinars before. A glimpse of GDIC's capabilities is mostly towards those who are new to our webinar. So I'll go over that very quickly. So our company has been in business for over a decade, and we have over 50 experienced proposal managers and capture managers, most of them with over 20 years of experience on government proposal writing. We've had 226 wins in 2023 with $11.9 billion of contracts that we got for our customers, and an average win rate of 81%. Now, usually I present you, depending on the opportunity that we are actually discussing, I present you our past performance on that, how many wins we had and things like that. Unfortunately, SCRIPTS BPA is a new opportunity, so I am not able to actually provide our past performance, so to say, on this opportunity. So moving forward, these are some of the agencies that we have written successful proposals towards. So you can see there all the military and civilian agencies, almost all of them in the U.S. federal government. The company has 4 different divisions: proposal development division, which provides eligibility and score assessment, full proposal development, all types of color gate reviews, and staff augmentation in case you need them. Our capture management division has both strategic capture specific to one, for example, specific opportunity that our client is pursuing, or general sourcing and qualification of opportunities for our clients. In our support division, which is usually used by larger companies, we provide competitive intel, black hat exercises, and price to win services. And finally, our training division provides both proposal development and capture management training to our clients. Okay, as far as the Scripts BPA is concerned, we provide free consultation. We do eligibility and qualification assessment, but essentially the two main services that we provide is full proposal development, in case you want our support for the preparation of the proposal, in which case we take full responsibility. A cradle to grave service we provide with all the necessary reviews and other work necessary. Now, in case you prepare the proposal yourself, we also have a reviewing service, so we can provide full proposal and compliance reviews, gate reviews, including pink, red, and gold reviews, and strategy consultations. So these are the specific services we provide towards Script BPA. I've put in our contact information, so for any technical inquiries, please contact me, Vand, and I've put in my email and phone. Usually email is much better. In terms of consultation and sales inquiries, and you want to set up calls and everything like that, or inquiries about our services, please contact my colleague Maroon Freedy, and you'll see his email and phone number here, so you can actually contact him. Okay, so we're done with a short glimpse of GDIC's capabilities. Let's start with Scripts BPA general information. So this is a GSA opportunity, General Services Administration. It is a BPA, blank purchase agreement. Subject is obviously IT services. The full name is Supply Chain Risk Illumination Professional Tools and Services, hence Scripts. Solicitation number is there. Estimated value is a little bit less than $1 billion. In terms of set aside, it's both full and open, unrestricted, plus small business set aside, so it has both pools. There are 8 awards, 5 towards small businesses and 3 for unrestricted. The contract duration is a 5-year base and then 1 5-year option for a total of 10 years. And of course, I did mention that this is a GSA opportunity. You need to be a GSA schedule or mass contract holder to be able to participate in Scripts. So if you're not a GSA schedule, or the more professional name is GSA mass contract holder, you cannot participate in Scripts. So I wanted to make sure that you understand that. Now, you need to have one of these 6 SINs on your GSA schedule contract to be actually able to participate in Scripts. So again, this is a limitation. Make sure that you have one of these SINs on your contract. So 518210C, cloud and cloud related IT professional services, or 54151 ecom, electronic commerce and subscription services, 54151S, information technology professional services, 541614 SVC, supply and value chain management, 541990 risk assessment and mitigation services, and finally 541611 management and financial consulting, acquisition and grants, management support and business program and project management services. So one of these 6 SINs is a mandatory requirement, so you need to have that. Make sure that you do have that. In terms of the NAICS codes, this is not a requirement, but it covers, because then the small business size is based on that. So there are 3 NAICS codes involved: 511519, 541611, and 519290. Under any of these, if you're small, you can participate as a small business. So for 541519, you need to be $34 million or less, your average 5-year income. 541611, $24.5 million, and then 519290, less than 1,000 employees. So if you're under any of these, you can actually participate as a small business. If not, then you have to go for the unrestricted pool. Okay, so moving forward, let's look at some of these dates. So the source sought date was March 10th, 2023. Draft RFP first one was October 27th, 2023, and then the second one, June 27th, 2024, a few months ago. The full RFP was issued on August 19th, 2024. So we are in the post RFP stage. Question due date, August 26th, 2024, before 12 noon. Make sure that you submit your questions before that date. Proposal submission date is September 16th, 2024, before 4 p.m. EST. So we have approximately a little less than 4 weeks. Award date is estimated to be around December 2024 or January 2025, hoping that the government does not slip as they usually do. Okay, a few more points. Acquisition type. So this is a firm fixed price multiple award BPA, firm fixed price. And as I mentioned, under the GSA mass. Acquisition pools, 2 of them, Scripts Small Business and Scripts Unrestricted. Number of awards, Scripts Small Business is 5 and Scripts Unrestricted is 3. Just to make sure that these are clear. Okay, now let's discuss the scope, Scripts BPA scope, as this is a new requirement. So as this is a new requirement, let's look at the background for Scripts. Why are they putting out this BPA? So the security and stability of the supply chain has been a front and center for the government over the past 3 years, almost in all sectors, including the public sector. And the unveiling of the script BPA is a sign that the government really wants to better position itself to respond and help mitigate future disruptions as it has been facing during the past few years. Now, the office that is pursuing this, the Office of Undersecretary of Defense, Acquisition and Sustainment, they have the responsibility to identify and manage risk and supply chain vulnerabilities within the DoD, within the DIB, as they call it, Defense Industrial Base, meaning all the subcontractors, their subcontractors, and domestic commercial information technology marketplace. So the OUSD is the responsible party. Of course, at the end of the day, GSA has put out this, but this is the office that is actually following it. Now, the areas that they have responsibility for and they want to actually be able to mitigate these problems is research and engineering technology development, cybersecurity of hardware and software, manufacturing, acquisition, sustainment, contractor support to operations, infrastructure, intelligence and counterintelligence, and telecommunication services. So you can see that there are a lot of areas that they need to cover, and that's why having a system or a platform that can actually help them is essential. So what are their challenges? Firstly, reliance on commercial services and technologies on multiple tiers of global DIB that shift at an increasing fast rate. So there's so many different services and technologies in the market, and different companies, as they call them, DIB, are using these, and these are changing on a very fast rate. So being able to mitigate risk in these is very challenging. Second challenge is a vast availability of commercial items and services through simplified acquisition and or purchase cards that may not have been fully vetted for cyber and supply chain risk. Now, here what they mean is that on the one hand, you have a lot of these services on the market. On the other hand, it's very simple for government agencies and offices to actually purchase them through simplified acquisition or their purchase cards, while they have not been vetted by the government. So they need a vetting system to be able to actually go through these different available services and items on the market. So these are the challenges that they're facing. So Now let's look at the purpose and scope of scripts. So overall purpose of scripts. This requirement will allow DoD and federal civilian agencies to holistically screen and vet vendors. So this is the main subject, screening and vetting vendors and underlying supplier network affiliated personnel. So including the supplier network and the personnel to ensure suppliers are reputable, in good standing, financially and operationally secure, and will not introduce unacceptable risks to the government. So that's the whole purpose of the scripts. The Illumination tools will be able to assess supplier risk in real time. So they are requesting a real-time system along with a persistent monitoring capability. So they need a monitoring system as well. So the general scope is essentially establish core multi-component supply chain risk elimination tools with the ability to identify self-attested, public, as well as purchased data in real time along with a persistent monitoring capability. This is to provide supplier and network assessment services to DoD and the FCEB, that's the Federal Civilian Executive Branch, agencies that have shared mission areas. This capability will become an open resource based on security classification of analyzed data for potential use within the spectrum of information security environment. That means, TS, SCI, secret, and CUI levels within the DoD and other government agencies. So they want to have a over-encompassing system that is not only for DoD but also for civilian agencies as well, and covers all these TS, SCI, secret, as well as CUI levels. Okay, so that was the general scope. So now let's look at something that is important as we are preparing the proposal. I will come back to this later on. It's called the risk indicators. So scripts risk indicators. The proposed platform that you're going to provide to the government must provide business intelligence analytics that address the following required minimum risk indicators or categories for scripts. So it's important to understand these, and there's more information obviously on the RFP, but you need to write towards these in your proposal. So it's important to have an understanding of this, and they're different for the scripts SP and the scripts unrestricted submissions. For the scripts SP submission, you have 5 of these financial. So the financial risk, if the company that is being monitored is going out of business, it has problems financially, or if it's a foreign ownership company, FOSI, if there are problems politically and regulatory or in terms of compliance, if it's technology and cybersecurity systems have issues, have holes in them, have problems. So all of these should be, your platform should provide business intelligence on. So these are for small business. Now there are 3 more added for large businesses for the unrestricted submission, number 6, 7, 8. Manufacturing and supply. So if the company is facing problems in terms of its manufacturing, shortages and problems in supply, transportation and distribution, again problems and they're facing there, and product quality and design. So these 3 are added. Now notice that this is considered minimum risk indicators. So if your system, if your platform provides more than that, by all means you must and you should talk towards that in your proposal, and we'll see where, but this is important. So you need to cover at least the minimum risk indicators, but the more you cover, the better in terms of the quality of your proposal and how it will be assessed. Okay, so that was the scope. Now let's jump into the proposal requirements, the volume structure, and all that. So essentially, in terms of the volume structure, there are 4 volumes to the SCRIPTS BPA submission. Volume 1 is essentially administrative. Volume 2 is price. Then volume 3 and 4 are both non-price factors, and there's a phasing in scripts, and I will discuss that in the next slide. But phase 1 is for, you submit volume 3 in phase 1, you submit volume 4 in phase 2. Okay, so in terms of what each covers, the administrative part essentially has 4 attachments: vendor response template, additional reps and certs, attachment 2, the OCI, organization conflict of interest statement, attachment 3, and then the corporate NDA, attachment 4. Price is based on attachment 5, which is the price code. I will go into the details of that. And then non-price factors in volume 3 are 3 factors. Factor 1 is technical approach, factor 2 is management approach, factor 3 is past performance. So all of these come into volume 3. Now volume 4 is the oral presentation. So oral technical code presentation is volume 4, which is in phase 2. Now from here on, I will be discussing each of these volumes in more details, so you can understand what are the requirements. But before that, I wanted to discuss this phasing system. So there are 2 phases, both in terms of the submission and in terms of the government's evaluation of the proposal. So in phase 1, you essentially submit volumes 1, 2, and 3 fully. So fully, volume 1 complete, volume 2 complete, which is the price, and volume 3 complete, which is factor 1 technical approach, factor 2 management approach, and factor 3 past performance. And I'll go into the details of these. So that's in phase 1. Then usually, at least what they've said, after 20 days, they will notify you to actually set up for your oral presentation, which is essentially what is volume 4 is considered. And it includes a slide presentation, a PowerPoint presentation. It's optional. Perhaps you might want to actually present your platform itself or a PowerPoint. Either way is okay. And then the actual presentation itself, the oral presentation, providing a demonstration of your platform. So that's essentially what's in phase 2. Okay, so from here on, I'll go into the details of each of these 4 volumes and discuss them. So let's discuss volume 1. It essentially has 4 attachments and then a 5th one I will discuss. So vendor response template attachment 1, there's no page limit to that. And it's discussed in table 7 and in section 11.2.1. It's an easy thing. It's like a cover letter. It covers various things. So they've simplified it. You have to fill it out. Same thing stands for the other 3 forms. So additional reps and certs. This is not the actual reps and certs. This is additional reps and certs. People usually miss these. So they've done a good job. They've created a form, attachment 2, and you actually fill that out. So these additional reps and certs are in addition to the usual reps and certs that comes into the sam.gov screenshot that you can actually provide. That's the 5th one. So let me jump to this 5th one. So you need to actually present your reps and certs. Now to do that, you either fill out the whole reps and certs again, or better than that, you just provide a screenshot of your sam.gov, and that's acceptable. Now, that second item, attachment 2, additional reps and certs, is something that is not covered in the sam.gov. That's why they put it aside. So you have to fill out that attachment 2 form. Then attachment 3 is the OCI statement, and then the NDA, the corporate NDA that you have to sign, is attachment 4. So this is straightforward. There are no page limits to this. And everything in this, I will not repeat this, but everything in this proposal is just 1 copy electronically. So you submit 1 copy electronically. There are not multiple copies of anything. So that was essentially volume 1, straight and forward. Okay, let's go into volume 2, price. So volume 2 has actually 3 parts. It's the attachment 5, which is the main price code. And you have to familiarize yourself with it. It has 12 items. Whether you're you have a Scripts SB or unrestricted submission, you still have to price 12 different items for it. But remember, all of them must be filled. If one of them is missing, you will be disqualified. So make sure that you provide pricing for all items there. Now, indicate the mass contract price for each quoted service. For example, subscription-based access per user, per supplier risk report. So the pricing should be in accordance with your underlying GSA mass contract. Now, you can provide discounts from your GSA mass contract here at the BPA level and or at the order level. So you're allowed to provide discounts here, but once you set up the pricing here, then you cannot go over them when you're actually performing your, providing pricing for your orders. But you can also provide discounts at the order level if you want. So that is allowed. But remember, whatever pricing you give here, say it's 10% less than your GSA mass, then you will stuck with it. So when you're performing task orders under this BPA, you will have to use those prices that you gave here at the BPA level. Okay, so that was volume 2 price. Let's go to volume 3, which is the non-price factor. So as I mentioned, there are 3 factors. Factor 1 is technical approach, factor 2 management approach, and factor 3 past performance. Now, let's go through them one by one. Factor 1, technical approach. You are supposed to provide a technical narrative, technical approach narrative, not to exceed 30 pages. And here you're supposed to write towards your, providing security and safeguarding of the information collected from valid and verified trusted resources, non-compromised or manipulated data. So that's the most important thing that you should cover, but in addition to the capabilities of your system. And then you should also write towards those minimum risk indicators and all the other capabilities of your system. So technical approach narrative, 30 pages. Now, in addition to that, there is a called government specified company risk assessment report. So they want a risk assessment report issued through your platform. They want to see that. And there's no limit to the number of pages this report is, but they want to see how it covers those minimum risk indicators that we discussed earlier. So it's really important here, obviously in the technical approach narrative itself, but also here that the report covers all those minimum 5 if you're going for a small business submission, or 8 if you're going for the unrestricted, and that's the minimum. If you can cover more risk indicators, the better. But the report must cover those, so that's something that needs to be included, and there's no page limit to it in Factor 1 technical approach. Now, Factor 2 management approach, you have 30 pages for the overall management approach, and you're supposed to cover 3 areas: program management plan or PMP, quality management plan QMP, and this should be based on your ISO 9001 2015, or even if you don't have ISO 9001, but it should still be based on ISO 9001 system. So remember that. And then subcontracting report. This is required only for the unrestricted, the scripts unrestricted submission. If you're submitting as a small business, this subcontracting reporting is not required. So that's Factor 2 management approach. Now, Factor 3 past performance has 2 sections: past performance questionnaires, PPQs. There's a form that comes with it. You have to fill it up, the part that is your side, and send it over to the contracting officers for the contracts that you're providing, and should be 3 of them. I'll go into more details of this. And there's no limit, obviously, to the PPQ page forms. And then you have a 12-page past performance narrative for the 3 contracts that you bring to the table. So let me discuss that a little bit more in more detail. So 3 contracts for past performance reference. These contracts can be prime contracts or contracts as performed as first-tier subcontractors. So you can use both prime contracts and subcontracts. Now you might be an OEM and you have sold products, your platform, through a reseller. Even if the invoicing was done by the reseller, but if you as the OEM managed and implemented the software, then it is considered a prime contract for you, for the OEM. So even at the end of the day, the contracting was done, the invoicing was done by the reseller, but if you you managed and implemented the software, then it is considered a contract that you own, or a prime contract for you. So all of these are acceptable. Now, if you have a master BPA or IDIQ contract, you cannot use that by itself. You have to use task orders under BPAs or IDIQs. Remember, you cannot use just a master BPA or master IDIQ without any task orders. That's not acceptable. And then past performance contracts can come from first-tier subcontractors. So that's an important issue. Maybe you have 2 contracts and you're missing 1 contract that is relevant, or the size or scope that I will explain do not match. You can bring in subcontractors and use those, or JV members or CTA members. All of those are acceptable. And this is whether you're small or large, that's again the same. So you can use past performance contracts from your subcontractors or your CTA members or JV members. Each contract must be similar in size, scope, and complexity to this opportunity. Now, similar in size means the average annual value for each contract must be over 250K. So if it's a standalone contract, average annual value must be 250K or over it. If it's a task order under a BPA or IDIQ, the same stands for it. Now remember that when they say average annual value, it means that you don't go and pick the best year out of 5 years. For example, if it's a 5-year contract, you have to take the overall value of, for the contract, divided by 5. Say it's a 5-year contract, that's the average annual value. Now, if it's a completed contract, you have to look at the obligated amount, whether it's smaller or larger than what was on the paper. That's what counts. So for ongoing contracts, that's not the case, but for completed contracts, you have to take the obligated amount and divide it by the duration. And that's when I say duration, again, the actual duration. Maybe initially on the contract it was a 2-year contract, but they actually extended it for 3 years. So you have to divide the total value by 3. Similar in scope and complexity means similar in analytics support, tasks, and reporting capabilities as defined by the PWS of this opportunity. Now, the 3 contracts must have been performed within the past 5 years. So 5 years from September 16, 2024. Go back 5 years. So in this window, if they're completed within that, that's fine. Must have a 12-page write-up for the contracts for overall, say, average 4 pages. So 3 times 4 is 12 pages. And then you have to provide PPQs for these 3 contracts. And the PPQs must be on the attachment 6 form. So you can't just use, past PPQs that you've used and gotten signed for or anything like that. The PPQs must be used, attachment 6 form must be used, and your contractors, your contracting officer or your prime must actually sign it and send it directly, not back to you, maybe a copy, but the original must be sent to the to GSA, to the contracting officer of this opportunity before the due date, obviously by email, but they have to send it directly to them, not back to us, not back to you to submit through your proposal. Okay, so that was past performance. Now let's look at volume 4. So up to here was phase 1. Now assuming that you pass phase 1, and I'll discuss how you pass that, then you go to phase 2. Usually they've said that 20 days afterwards. In phase 2, which is factor 4, oral technical code presentation. So here you have a slide presentation of PowerPoint 1. It's optional. You don't have to have a PowerPoint. You might go directly to your, for example, platform and present through that, or you might use both, or you might use just the PowerPoint. It's up to you. And then the oral presentation itself of the platform. And the process is like this. First, introductions and rules of engagement. Then you have approximately or maximum 60 minutes to actually demonstrate your solution, your platform, and everything. Then there is a 15-minute wait. You wait until the government, they have a meeting, internal meeting, to come up with how they're going to come back to you and ask you questions. And then there is a maximum 45-minute dialogue, so to say, or question and answer period that they're going to interact with you, ask you questions, and you can discuss more things with them during those 45 minutes. So that's the oral presentation, or phase 2 non-technical part. And they're going to obviously score your system and how you answered the questions here. Now let's see how this source selection system works. So I will not go into the details of that. You can read section M of the RFP, but the most important parts are here. So this is a best value award, meaning it's a trade-off between non-price factors and price. But the non-price factors are significantly more important than price. And remember, the 9 price factors were the 4 factors: technical approach, management approach, past performance, and then the oral presentation in phase 2. Now, the non-price factors, 1 to 4, weigh equally. So it's not that, for example, your technical approach is much more important than your past performance, or the oral presentation is much more important than the others. Obviously, you have to, they will look at your factors 1, 2, and 3 in phase 1. And if you're good enough, you will go to phase 2. But again, at the end of the day, all of these receive equal scores as far as the government is concerned. That has implications. And I will discuss that. Now, in terms of the price factor, the government will evaluate the total aggregate price. You remember there are 12 items that you have to price for, and they will discuss that. But remember that price is much less important than these 4 items. So that's essentially how they're going to award this. So essentially in phase 1, they will look at your factor 1, 2, and 3. They will select perhaps 5 contractors, or maybe a little bit more for small business, and minimum 3, a little bit more for unrestricted, based on factors 1, 2, and 3, and checking their pricing to be reasonable. Then they ask you, those companies, to go into the oral presentation and then pick the best 5 for small business and best 3 for unrestricted. So that's essentially the process. Now, before I provide my recommendations, let me also discuss partnering, because I think it is important. It might be missed. Remember that I did mention that. Let me go discuss why partner first. Remember, I mentioned that the 4 non-price factors are all equal. So I think that you really need to shine in all of them. And one of the best ways to do that is to use partnering. So you can use your partners' contracts, assuming that they're more relevant or more recent than your own, to actually bolster the effect of your past performance factor. So one of the areas that you can use partners is here for your past performance. You can also use your partner's experience and past performance to enhance your technical as well as management approach write-ups. So I understand that this is just a platform at the end of the day, but the implementation part, the support of the platform, some platforms are dependent on data, some platforms are dependent on systems. So all of that is where you can actually bring in partners. So your partner's past experience and performance can actually enhance your technical as well as management approach write-ups too. And finally, if you have partners who are very good at oral presentations, you can always bring them along in your phase 2 oral presentation and use their capabilities there as well. Now, going up, both small and large businesses can use partnering, and you can have partnerings in different ways. You can create JVs or mentor-protege JVs for small businesses, obviously. You can have CTAs, or you can have prime-sub relationships. Now, CTAs and prime-sub relationships, as far as GSA is concerned, are different. So in a prime-sub relationship, GSA gives the contract directly and wholly to the prime. The subs have no relationship with GSA, and GSA the only POC is the prime. However, in a CTA, all the subs must have actually a GSA schedule. So they have to have that agreement, that's contract, but they are considered with from the point of view of GSA as part of the contract. So it's not just the prime that the POC for GSA. In fact, all CTAs members are part of the contract that GSA will sign with you. So it's a different arrangement. If you're not familiar with it, I recommend that you actually dig out that part from GSA website, the difference between CTAs and prime sub. And actually in the RFP, there is a section that does provide information as to what is the difference and what are the advantages and disadvantages of both either CTAs or prime sub relationships. But at the end of the day, you can use, whether it's a JV, it's a CTA, or a prime sub relationship, you can use their past performance in your write-up, and you can use their performance and experience and everything in your technical and management approach. Of course, you need to provide different documentation, if it's a JV or if it's a CTA or if it's a prime sub, along with your submission in terms of your relationship with your partners. So that was a short description of the partnering. What I wanted to convey here is that don't overlook this. You can actually use partnering to enhance and increase your chances of success on this opportunity. And finally, my recommendations. So I have a few recommendations. So as the weight for all the 4 price factors is the same. I say weight, I should say weigh, they weigh the same. Okay. Now, you need to be able to shine in every aspect. In other words, you must make sure that your proposal preparation goes through a very meticulous attention to details on all of them, all non-price factors, because you don't want to excel on 3 and then lose on the 4th one, as they are equal. That's the important thing. So you need to shine on all 4 non-price factors. Now, another point, I don't know why they've done this, but there's a lot of discussion and points mentioned in section M of the RFP that is not mentioned in section L. And these are the things that you need to cover in your proposal. So make sure that you actually go through fully both section L and M, and your proposal covers everything in section M, because section M does not necessarily cover just how they're going to review. It includes information that you actually need to submit in your proposal that is not covered in section L. So make sure that you read through that correctly. I mentioned partnering, so whether it's a JV, CTA, or prompt sub, use that to bolster your submission's past performance, as well as the technical approach and the management approach. There's an attachment C, quoter compliance checklist. Just make sure that you don't miss any administrative documents. Use that, and also upload that itself, because that's part of the submission. But you don't want to have everything done well, perfect, and just miss a few administrative documents. So make sure that you cover all those. Now, one thing I wanted to bring up, there's a note on page 5 of the RFP. Coders must be the original equipment manufacturer, OEM, or possess a valid letter of supply, LOS, as an authorized reseller or distributor to be eligible for BPA award. So make sure that you comply with this. If you're not an OEM but a distributor or a reseller, make sure that you have that LOS. Or if you're an OEM, make sure that you mention that and prove that. Finally, price is checked for reasonableness and completeness. If your GSA mass prices are generally high and you are able to provide discounts, give some discounts to bring your prices down to the average of compared to others, but leave room for yourself so that you can actually provide discounts at the task order level. So don't decrease them so much that you can't provide any discounts when task order. So assuming that you actually win the BPA, then you have some room to actually maneuver and be more competitive compared with your competitors at the task order level competition. So give some room there. Remember that the price is much less important here at the BPA level. So don't put a lot of effort in that. More effort on those 4 non-price factors. So these were my general recommendations. Essentially, I should mention that we can provide services to you in terms of both, I did go over this, both full proposal development and review services. I wanted to bring this up again because, as I mentioned, those four non-price factors are equal. So the proposal is really critical to have to be able to cover all of them. So you need somebody in your company to be really skilled in writing towards all of this, and make sure that you actually do a full review that you're compliant with both sections L and M. If you don't have those people, we're here to help, as I mentioned, and you have our contact information in this slide deck if you download it. Okay, so having said that, we now reach the Q&A section and session, and I can answer some of these questions. I see that there are a lot of questions. Let me organize this, and we'll start. Okay, let's start with the first question. Question from Steven. Do we need to have an FCL to participate in this bid? FCL is facility clearance. Thank you, Stephen, for this question. Actually, due to the shortage of time, I didn't go into the security details of this RFP. But now that you've asked, let me give a few points on this. You do not need a secret or top secret FCL to bid on this BPA, but you do need to have one, a secret or top secret FCL once you want to bid on most of the task orders. But as far as the BPA itself is concerned, there's no requirement that you should have an FCL. Now, the good thing about this BPA is that you can ask to receive an FCL through this BPA. Most contracts do not allow you that. So this is a major plus for this opportunity. Third point is that as this is a cyber-related RFP, there are a number of FARs that are included in it, and you must be aware of them. So, for example, FAR 252.204.7020 which is the inclusion of NIST 800-171 requirement, or FAR 252.204.7021, which is the inclusion of the CMMC requirement. Now, these are important. You should understand them. For example, starting from 2025, CMMC certification will be mandatory. So you really need to familiarize yourself with these certifications and how to obtain them. If you don't know that, email me. I can provide you information on that and support you on getting this. Another question on Jeanette. Jeanette says, did you mention that we can't use CPARs instead of PPQs that are requested? Right, so you cannot use CPARs. You must use attachment 6 PPQ form and get that sent to GSA by your contracting officers, or if the contract is a subcontract, by your prime. You can add additional documents such as, for example, CPARs or award forms and all that as supporting documentation. But attachment 6 form is mandatory. Don't forget that. Okay, question from Camilla. Can you discuss a little bit more about what should go into the technical approach write-up? Okay, sure. We have a time constraint, so I will give a little bit more detail. So if you go to attachment A, the final PWS, then on page 5 starts the section 4. So section 4 starts from page 5, and the tasks that are needed to be covered by your platform are listed. There are 30 tasks or 30 items that they have listed. The 31st is more towards the management. You can cover that in your management approach. So the first 30 are the most important ones, and in your write-up, make sure that you cover each and every of those 30 items under section 4. Item 4.15, so 415, which is the minimum risk indicators, and item 4.25, the 25th one, continuous monitoring. These are of the higher importance as far as I understand. So cover them properly. So essentially, you need, in your write-up, you need to cover all those 30 points and give more emphasis to item 15 and item 25. I hope I've provided some help in this regard. Okay, there are a lot of sales related questions. Yes, Paul, it's not too late and we can provide support for your proposal development, no problem. Please contact Maroon Freedy, my colleague, to set up a call and discuss. This is for all sales and service related questions. So if you have any of that sort of question, I will not read them off again, but please contact Maroon and set up a time with him, and we can jump on a call and discuss. His contact information is on the slide deck that you can download. Question from John. In the RFP, there's no mention as how we are supposed to submit the PPQ. Where did you read that the fact that it has to be sent to GSA directly? Right, John. Okay, so if you go to the PPQ form itself, attachment 6, all of this is written there. So there's instruction there that discusses how to actually send it, and it answers your question as well. So this is not, you're correct, is not in the RFP, but it's written in, not in that document, but in attachment 6. Okay, question from Adam. How should our presentation slides be prepared? What should we concentrate on? So there is an attachment 7 that discusses this. So essentially you should cover the following topics. 1, a brief introduction to your company, what your capabilities are, things like that. Then you dive into the platform capabilities. Then you should also touch on compliance and other areas of focus in the PWS. So make sure that you cover those. And finally, you're supposed to provide a user guide and a sample account to the government. So discuss that in your presentation. Now, the platform capabilities should cover 4 areas: minimum risk indicators, how they are set, identified; continuous monitoring; delivery of a common operating picture; and risk elimination of affiliated entities and suppliers. These are the most important points that should be covered by your platform capabilities. I hope I've answered your question, Adam. A question from Mary. Okay. So Mary's having a difficulty downloading the slide deck. Mary, you can write your email on the chat system. I will send the slide deck to you by email. If anybody else is also having the same problem, no problem. Just put your email on the chat system and we'll be sending the PDF document to you. Okay. Question from Mark. What are the criteria that they will use to evaluate our presentations? Okay, this was discussed. This is discussed in attachment 7, so you can refer to that. So there are essentially 5 areas. Firstly, how well you understood the PWS requirements and how well you can actually meet those. Secondly, how well can your platform's capabilities address those minimum risk indicators that we discussed. Thirdly, adequacy of the resources you're proposing to meet the PWS requirements. Fourth, any innovation solutions, design enhancements, maintenance plans, and so on. Fifth, how clear are the technical assumptions and your platform's support for subcategory elements. So these are the 5 areas that they will evaluate your presentation on. I hope this helps. Question from Amanda. Must all the 3 contracts be prime or first tier subcontracts? Actually, no. One of the 3 can be any level subcontract. So this is allowed. At least one of them can be any level, any tier subcontractor. The other 2 must be either prime or first tier subcontracts. Another question from John. I read somewhere that there is an order of submission for past performance contracts. What does that mean? This means, John, that when you're listing them in your 12-page write-up, put the most relevant past performance contract on top. So right towards that at the beginning, and then the least relevant one at the end. So this is essentially the government wants to make their own work easier, just that. Question from Fred. What is the administrative difference between a CTA and a prime sub for this BPA? I don't exactly understand what you mean by administrative, but I can say that for a CTA, all members must be a GSA mass contract holder. But for a prime sub relationship, you don't need that. So only the prime must have a GSA mass contract, and the subcontractors don't need that. This is for this bit. Also, each CTA member has privity of contract with the government, whereas in the prime sub relationship, only the prime has full privity of the contract. I hope I have answered your question. Okay, let me see more questions. Jerry, do we need to submit our PowerPoint presentation with our phase 1 submission? No, Jerry, you don't need to do that. That's for after you're actually selected to go to phase 2, then you have that. You don't actually, a PowerPoint presentation is optional. You don't have to have that. Okay, so it seems that we have run out of time and there are more questions remaining. So I apologize if I've not answered all your questions, but I will respond to the remaining questions by email. Don't worry about that. Thank you again, everyone, for participating in this webinar, and we hope to see you in our future webinars as well. Have a great day.